The council chamber floated in the darkness of space, a massive station where 12 different species gathered to discuss the future of the galaxy. Today, they had only one topic on their minds: humanity. Yuna sat in her chair and watched the other representatives argue. She wore a simple gray suit, her black hair tied back, her face calm. She had been Earth's ambassador for 3 years now, and she had seen this same discussion many times before. The aliens were afraid. They were always afraid. "The humans have won every battle," said Veltreth, his feathers ruffling with agitation. The bird-like Etheron stood on his platform, his wings spread wide. "Every single engagement. They do not retreat. They do not surrender. When we calculated they should break, they push harder. This is not normal. They are dangerous," added another representative, a being made of crystalline structures that chimed when it spoke. "Our simulations show they should have failed at least 40% of their operations. Instead, they succeed at rates above 95%. Yuna raised her hand, and the chamber fell silent. All eyes turned to her. She stood slowly, looking at each representative in turn. "My people fight to protect what is ours," she said simply. "We do not seek conquest. We seek only to defend our worlds and our citizens. If that frightens you, perhaps you should reconsider attacking us." Veltreth's large eyes blinked rapidly. "We have not attacked you, Ambassador. We merely discussed the reality of your military capabilities. You must understand our concern. In 3 years, humanity has become the most formidable military force in known space." Before Yuna could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Red lights flashed in the chamber. A holographic display appeared in the center of the room, showing a star map with one system highlighted in red. "What is this?" Veltreth demanded. A Krillian representative stepped forward. The reptilian creature was massive, easily 3 meters tall, with scales that gleamed like polished armor. His name was Thresh, and he served as War Master for the Krillian Empire. He had been quiet during the debate, but now he spoke with a voice like grinding stone. "The Krillian Empire has acted," Thresh announced. "We have tested human resolve. Our forces have taken the colony world of Epsilon Reach. We will demonstrate that human reputation is merely exaggeration." Yuna felt ice form in her stomach. Epsilon Reach was a small colony, barely 5,000 people, mostly scientists and their families. She turned to Thresh, her calm exterior cracking slightly. "You attacked a civilian colony?" she asked quietly. "We attacked a human settlement," Thresh corrected. "Your fleet will respond. We will meet them with superior force. We will show this council that humans can be defeated." The holographic display updated. It showed human ships entering the system, moving fast. Yuna recognized the formation. That was Commander Doyen's fleet. She had met him once, a quiet man with steady eyes who told her he joined the military because he wanted to protect people who could not protect themselves. The battle played out on the display. 12 Krillian warships against 8 human vessels. The numbers favored the Krillians. The size favored the Krillians. Their ships were older, more established designs that had won hundreds of battles. The fight lasted 17 minutes. Human ships moved in patterns the Krillians did not expect. They used weapons in combinations that should not have worked. When Krillian vessels tried to surround them, the human fleet split and reformed in configurations that turned the trap into an ambush. One by one, Krillian ships fell silent, disabled by precise strikes that targeted critical systems without destroying the ships entirely. When it ended, all 12 Krillian vessels were drifting hulks. All 8 human ships remained functional. The council chamber was completely silent. "Impressive," Thresh admitted, though his voice carried an edge of anger. "But we have achieved our true objective. While your fleet fought in orbit, Our ground forces secured a research facility deep underground. We have taken 73 human scientists and staff hostage. The facility is now a fortress. Your ships cannot touch us without killing your own people." Yuna's hands clenched into fists. She forced herself to remain calm, to think clearly. "Release them immediately," she said. "This is a violation of every treaty and law. You have attacked civilians." "We will release them when humanity agrees to allow a full inspection of all military capabilities," Thresh said. "We will verify that you are not developing weapons that threaten galactic peace. Until then, they remain our guests." The display showed the underground facility. It was deep, reinforced with layered defenses designed to withstand orbital bombardment. Krillian soldiers, elite warriors in heavy armor, patrolled every corridor. Sensors and weapons covered every approach. It was designed to be impenetrable. Yuna took a slow breath. She touched a control on her wrist, sending a coded message. Then she looked up at Thresh, and for the first time since the council session began, she smiled. It was not a kind smile. "War Master Thresh," she said quietly, "you have made a terrible mistake. You have fought our fleet. You have seen our soldiers in open battle. You believe you understand what humanity is capable of." "I understand enough," Thresh rumbled. "Your people are formidable warriors, but warriors can be countered with superior position and numbers. We have both." "You have fought our regular forces," Yuna continued. "Our navy, our marines, our army. These are our defenders, our protectors. They are very good at what they do, and yes, you should fear them." She paused, letting her words sink in. "But there are situations where regular forces are not appropriate. Situations that require specialists. Situations like hostage rescue." Veltreth leaned forward. "What do you mean, Ambassador?" Yuna's smile grew colder. "I mean that the galaxy has only seen one side of human military capability. You have seen our soldiers who fight in the open, who defend our worlds, who meet you in honest battle. You have not seen our shadows, our ghosts. The operators we send when the situation requires surgical precision instead of overwhelming force." "You speak of special operations forces," said the crystalline representative. "Many species have elite units." "Yes," Yuna agreed. "Many species do. But I wonder, do your elite units train for 100 continuous hours without sleep? Do they practice operations in environments that would kill regular soldiers? Do they study their enemies so thoroughly they can predict actions before they happen?" She turned back to Thresh. "Your warriors are holding hostages in a fortress. You believe you are safe. But there is a reason humanity kept our special forces classified, War Master. There is a reason we never mentioned them in council sessions or tactical briefings." "And what reason is that?" Thresh asked. But Yuna could hear uncertainty in his voice now. "Because we hoped we would never need to use them," Yuna said softly. "Regular forces are for battles. Special forces are for the situations where battles are not possible, where precision is required, where the impossible must become possible." She looked around the chamber. "I have authorized their deployment. Phantom Unit is already en route to Epsilon Reach. I suggest you all watch what happens next very carefully. Consider it an education." The chamber fell silent. On the display, the fortress on Epsilon Reach looked impregnable, unassailable. Inside, 73 humans waited for rescue, surrounded by thousands of elite alien warriors. The situation appeared hopeless. Yuna sat down and folded her hands. She knew better. She had read the files. She knew what Phantom Unit could do. War Master Thresh would learn very soon that humanity's reputation for military excellence was not exaggerated. If anything, it was understated. The ship appeared on no sensors. It moved through space like a whisper, its hull absorbing every frequency of radiation that touched it. Inside the vessel called Silent Echo, 5 people prepared for an operation that should have been impossible. Captain Taiho stood in the briefing room, studying the holographic display of the target facility. He was lean and compact, with the kind of stillness that comes from absolute confidence. His dark eyes tracked every detail of the fortress layout, calculating angles and approaches that no computer could find. "The hostages are here," he said, pointing to the central chamber deep underground. 73 civilians, mostly scientists. Krillian forces number approximately 5,000, with their best warriors concentrated around the hostage location. The facility has triple-layered shields, automated defenses, and sensor coverage that should detect anything larger than a rat. "Should detect," said Lieutenant Sora, grinning. She was smaller than Taiho, quick in her movements, with hands that never stopped moving. She was already working on 3 different tablets, her fingers dancing across screens. "But their sensors are calibrated for normal infiltration attempts. They are not ready for us." Sergeant Hana checked her weapons for the 3rd time. She was precise in everything she did, her movements efficient and measured. "Rules of engagement?" she asked. "Hostages are priority 1, Taiho replied. "We extract all 73 alive. Enemy forces, use your judgment. Non-lethal where practical, terminal force where necessary. They chose to take our people. They accept the consequences." Corporal Wu Jin said nothing. He sat in the corner, his rifle disassembled on the table in front of him, cleaning each piece with ritual care. He was the quietest member of the team, speaking rarely, moving like smoke. When he did speak, everyone listened. Specialist Gina looked up from her data slate. "I have full intelligence on Krillian biology, language, and tactical doctrine. Their species is strong and tough, but they have weaknesses. Their hearing is less sensitive than ours in certain frequencies. Their eyes adapt slowly to light changes. Their command structure is rigid, relies heavily on direct communication." "Good," Taiho said. "We use all of that. Sora, can you access their systems?" Sora smiled wider. "Captain, I can do more than access them. I can make their technology work for us. Give me 5 minutes inside their network, and they will be fighting in the dark against enemies they cannot see or hear." The ship shuddered slightly as it entered orbit around Epsilon Reach. Below them, the Krillian fortress waited, confident in its defenses. Above them, human fleet ships maintained their positions, keeping the enemy fleet occupied but not attacking. Everyone waited to see what would happen next. "Final equipment check," Taiho ordered. "We drop in 30 minutes. The team moved with practiced precision. Each member wore specialized armor, matte black, and covered in sensor-absorbing material. Their weapons were custom, designed for silent operation and maximum efficiency. Everything they carried had been chosen for a specific purpose. There was no wasted weight, no unnecessary equipment. Phantom Unit had trained together for 4 years. They had run operations on hostile worlds, in deep space, in environments that would kill regular soldiers in minutes. They had practiced hostage rescue scenarios until they could execute them in their sleep. This was what they did. This was what they were. The drop was silent. From high orbit, they fell like meteorites, wrapped in ablative cocoons that burned away in the atmosphere. At the last possible moment, their suits deployed airfoils that let them glide toward the target. Krillian sensors detected nothing. As far as the fortress knew, they were alone. They landed 3 kilometers from the facility, in the middle of a forest that had been burned during the initial assault. The ground was still warm, the trees reduced to blackened stumps. Wu Jin went first, his rifle scanning for threats. The others followed in a formation they had practiced 10,000 times. The approach took 2 hours. They moved slowly, carefully, avoiding every sensor and patrol. When they reached the facility's outer wall, Sora went to work. She attached devices to the barrier that looked like small insects. They crawled along the surface, mapping power conduits and data lines. Within minutes, she had found a way in. "Security system is isolated," she whispered into her radio. "I am making adjustments. When we enter, their alerts will show normal status. They will not know we are inside." "Confirmed," Taiho said. "Execute." The team slipped through a maintenance access point that Sora had unlocked. They were inside the fortress now, in the enemy's home. Around them, Krillian warriors patrolled, confident and alert. The fortress was designed to withstand an army. It was not designed to stop 5 people who knew exactly what they were doing. Woojin moved ahead, his role to eliminate threats before they could raise an alarm. He found his first patrol in a service corridor, 7 Krillian soldiers in full armor. They never heard him approach. His weapon made sounds like whispers, and one by one the warriors fell. He dragged their bodies into a storage room and continued forward. Hana followed, marking the path clear. She moved like a dancer, her steps silent, her awareness absolute. When she turned a corner and found herself facing 3 more guards, her response was instant. She was among them before they could react, her strikes precise and devastating. Krillians were larger and stronger than humans, but Hana knew exactly where to hit. In seconds, all 3 were unconscious. The team penetrated deeper. Level by level, corridor by corridor, they moved through the fortress like ghosts. Krillian soldiers began to notice that patrols were not reporting in. Officers tried to investigate but found nothing. No bodies, no signs of intrusion, no alerts. Just silence. In the command center, War Master Thresh watched his displays with growing confusion. "Where is Patrol 7?" he demanded. "Where is Section 4 guard detail?" His officers had no answers. The sensors showed nothing. The security feeds showed empty corridors, but 23 warriors had gone silent in the past hour. That was not normal. That was not possible. "Seal the facility," Thresh ordered. "Full lockdown. All warriors to battle stations. Something is inside with us." Bulkheads slammed shut throughout the fortress. Warning lights flashed. Thousands of Krillian soldiers readied their weapons, searching for an enemy they could not see. In the central chamber, where the hostages were held, 300 elite warriors formed a perimeter. Whatever was out there would have to go through them to reach the civilians. Deep in the fortress, Taiho received updates from his team. Everyone was in position. The hostages were located. The enemy was alerted but confused. It was time for the final phase. "Sora, lights," he commanded. Throughout the facility, every light went out at once. Emergency systems tried to activate, but Sora had already corrupted them. The fortress plunged into absolute darkness. Krillian eyes, adapted for their homeworld's bright sun, struggled to adjust. Human eyes, trained to operate in darkness, saw everything. "Hana, go loud," Taiho said. "Let them know we are here." An explosion rocked the fortress. Sora had planted charges on key structural points, not enough to collapse the facility, but enough to create chaos. Alarms that should not have been working suddenly blared. Doors opened and closed randomly. The environmental system began pumping gas into certain corridors, not lethal but disorienting to Krillian biology. In the darkness and confusion, Phantom Unit moved. They were no longer hiding. Now they were hunting. They swept through the fortress with terrible efficiency, disabling warriors with a combination of technology and skill that the Krillians had never encountered. Woojin fired from shadows, each shot perfect. Hana led close assaults that left enemy soldiers unconscious before they understood they were under attack. Sora controlled the facility itself, turning the fortress's own defenses against its defenders. Gina moved with them, speaking in flawless Krillian over their communication channels, giving false orders that sent warriors running in wrong directions, creating more chaos. "Intruders in Section 9! All units respond!" she would say, and soldiers would rush to empty rooms while phantom units struck elsewhere. They reached the central chamber where the hostages waited. 300 elite Krillian warriors stood between them and rescue. The warriors were ready, armed, determined. They thought they had the advantage. Taiho looked at his team. They were tired but not exhausted. They had trained for worse than this. He checked his weapon one final time. "Remember," he said quietly, "we came for our people. Anyone who stands in our way chose their fate. Execute Phase 3. Bring them home." The assault on the central chamber began with precision that looked like magic to those who did not understand it. Sora had spent the last 10 minutes mapping every pipe, every wire, every weakness in the room's construction. Now, she used that knowledge. Shaped charges detonated simultaneously on 3 walls. The explosions were surgical, calculated to breach the barriers without harming anyone inside. The Krillian warriors had less than a second to react before Phantom Unit was among them. Hana went through the first breach like a storm. Her weapons fired rounds designed specifically for this mission, projectiles that released a compound on impact. When they hit Krillian armor, the chemical reaction created a sonic pulse tuned precisely to reptilian neurology. The warriors collapsed, not dead but completely unconscious. It was mercy they had not shown the hostages, but Phantom Unit followed Earth's rules of engagement. Lethal force was authorized, but not required. Wu Jin entered through the second breach, his rifle speaking in quiet whispers. Every shot found its target. Krillian soldiers tried to return fire, but he was never where they aimed. He moved between shadows behind cover, using angles that should not have existed. His training had made him see the battlefield differently than others. Where enemies saw walls and obstacles, he saw opportunities and firing lanes. Taiho and Gina came through the third breach. Gina immediately went to the hostages, speaking calmly in multiple languages. "Stay down. Cover your heads. We are here to take you home." The scientists and staff obeyed, trusting these dark figures who moved with such confidence. Taiho moved toward the center of the room where War Master Thresh commanded his warriors. The huge Krillian was roaring orders, trying to organize a defense against attackers his soldiers could barely see. He stood nearly 3 meters tall, his armor reinforced, his weapons powerful enough to punch through walls. Around them, the battle raged. 300 warriors against 5 operators should have been one-sided. It was one-sided, just not the way anyone expected. Phantom Unit had trained for scenarios exactly like this. They knew how to use confined spaces to their advantage, how to create chaos that disrupted enemy coordination, how to attack from unexpected angles. The Krillians were brave and skilled, but they were fighting an enemy who understood warfare at a level they had never encountered. Sora worked her technical magic from the breached wall. She had tapped into the facility's environmental controls and was adjusting the atmosphere in real time. She increased oxygen levels slightly, giving humans a boost while making Krillians slightly sluggish. She released a harmless gas that absorbed certain light frequencies, making the emergency lights that were starting to work even less effective for alien eyes. Every advantage, no matter how small, mattered. The fight lasted 8 minutes. When it ended, 278 Krillian warriors lay unconscious. 22 had fought with such determination that lethal force was required. Phantom Unit took no pleasure in those kills, but they did not hesitate either. The hostages were priority. Everything else was secondary. War Master Thresh remained standing. He had watched his elite forces fall to 5 humans, and something in him refused to accept it. He charged Taiho, moving with speed that seemed impossible for something so large. Taiho did not run. He sidestepped the first strike, using Thresh's momentum against him. The Krillian was strong, but strength meant nothing if it could not connect. Taiho had studied Krillian physiology for years. He knew where their joints were weakest. where their scales did not protect them, where their nerves were vulnerable to pressure. The fight was brief. Thresh swung his massive fists and found only air. Taiho moved like water, flowing around attacks, responding with strikes that targeted specific points. A hit to the nerve cluster behind the knee, a strike to the respiratory inlet at the base of the neck, pressure on the joint where the arm connected to the shoulder. Each blow was precise, calculated, perfect. Thresh fell to his knees, gasping. He was not used to losing. His species had conquered dozens of worlds through superior strength and ferocity. But here, in this moment, he understood that warfare was more than strength. It was knowledge. It was precision. It was the ability to see weaknesses others could not see. Taiho knelt beside the fallen War Master. "Your warriors fought well," he said quietly. "But you made a mistake. You attacked civilians. You took hostages. You forced us to send specialists instead of soldiers. Now you will deliver a message to your empire." "What message?" Thresh managed to ask. "Tell them they fought our regular forces and learned to fear them. Today they met our special operations teams. These are our hostage rescue specialists, our surgical strike forces, our precision instruments. We have others you pray you never meet. Tell your empire to leave human worlds alone. Tell them the next time will be worse." Taiho stood and keyed his radio. "All hostages secured. 0 friendly casualties. Beginning extraction." The team moved quickly now. Hana and Woojin led the hostages out through the breach points they had created. Sora had already mapped an extraction route, and she guided them through corridors she had cleared of threats. Gina stayed with the civilians, keeping them calm, making sure nobody panicked. Above the facility, human dropships descended. They had been waiting in stealth orbit, invisible to Krillian sensors. Now they came in fast, landing near the extraction points. The hostages were loaded aboard with practiced efficiency. Medics checked each person, treating minor injuries, providing comfort. Taiho was the last aboard. Before he left, he activated a device Sora had left in the command center. It began broadcasting on all Krillian military frequencies. What it transmitted was footage from the operation, recorded from the helmet cameras of Phantom Unit. The galaxy watched. Every species with access to Krillian communications saw 5 humans dismantle an elite force of thousands. They saw Phantom Unit move through the fortress like they owned it. They saw the impossible made possible through training, technology, and a level of tactical thinking that seemed almost supernatural. The dropships lifted away. The Krillian fleet tried to intercept, but human fighters swept in to provide cover. Commander Doyen's fleet had been waiting for this moment. They engaged the enemy ships with renewed aggression, driving them back, creating a corridor for the extraction craft. By the time the operation ended, all 73 hostages were safe aboard human vessels. Phantom Unit had disappeared back into the shadows where they operated. The only evidence they had been there was the unconscious Krillian warriors and the footage that was spreading across every communication network in known space. The Galactic Council convened again in emergency session. The chamber was silent as representatives watched the recordings. They saw the truth now. Human regular forces were dangerous because they were well-trained and determined. Human special forces were something else entirely. They were specialists, operators who turned impossible situations into routine extractions. Yuna stood before the council and waited for the accusations she knew would come. Veltreth spoke first, his voice quiet. "You hid this from us. You never mentioned these capabilities." "We did not hide anything," Yuna replied calmly. "Every civilization has special operations forces. Elite units for situations where regular forces are not appropriate. We simply never had reason to deploy them where the galaxy could see. War Master Thresh created that reason." "These are not just elite units," said the crystalline representative. "These are operators with capabilities far beyond normal soldiers. How many of these teams do you have?" Yuna considered her answer carefully. The truth was classified, but perhaps it was time for the galaxy to understand. Phantom Unit is one of several Tier 1 Special Forces teams. They handle hostage rescue, surgical strikes, reconnaissance, and intelligence operations. They are the best humanity has to offer in terms of training and capability. "And that is your highest level?" Veltreth asked. Una paused. "Phantom Unit is Tier 1, Operational Special Forces. The teams we deploy when regular forces are not appropriate for the mission." "You did not answer my question, Ambassador." Una met his gaze directly. "No, I did not." The chamber filled with worried murmurs. If Tier 1 could do what they had just witnessed, what could higher tiers accomplish? Una let them imagine, let them understand that humanity had depths they had not yet seen. Thresh's message reached the Krillian Empire within hours. The footage spread faster. Within a day, every civilization in the galaxy had seen Phantom Unit in action. The response was fear, yes, but also something else: respect. Understanding that humans were not conquerors or monsters. They were protectors who could become incredibly dangerous when their people were threatened. Most species learned the lesson. Most understood that peaceful coexistence with humanity was not just preferable, but essential. They saw the footage and decided that making friends with humans was much wiser than making enemies. But in a distant sector of space, the Vex Collective watched with different eyes. They were an ancient species, conquerors who had dominated 70 worlds. They had never encountered a force they could not overwhelm. They looked at Phantom Unit and saw not a warning, but a challenge. The Hive Mind Council reached its decision. Humanity had to be eliminated before they became too powerful. But the Vex would not make the mistakes others had made. They would not test humanity's forces. They would not give humans time to react. They would strike Earth itself. They would use their entire fleet. They would end the human threat in one overwhelming assault. The Vex began preparing their forces, gathering their ships, organizing an invasion that would dwarf anything the galaxy had seen in centuries. They would attack the human homeworld and teach the galaxy that there were still powers older and more terrible than these newcomers. They did not know that Earth had defenses the galaxy had never seen. They did not know about the protocols that would activate if the homeworld was threatened. They did not know about Tier 0. They would learn. 6 months passed. The galaxy adjusted to the new reality of human capability. Trade agreements were signed. Defense pacts were formed. Most species decided that cooperation with humanity was better than confrontation. Phantom Unit conducted 17 more operations, each one adding to their legend. Then the Vex came. They arrived without warning, using technology that folded space itself. 6,000 warships emerged from dimensional portals directly in Earth's solar system. No scouts had detected them. No early warning systems had triggered. One moment, space was empty. The next, it was filled with an invasion fleet that dwarfed anything humanity had faced before. Commander Doyon was on patrol duty with his squadron when the Vex appeared. His sensors went insane trying to count the enemy vessels. 6,000. Maybe more. Ships of organic design, grown rather than built, covered in armor that regenerated damage. "All units, battle stations," he transmitted. His voice was calm despite the fear that tried to grip his heart. "Earth is under direct attack. We hold the line." Human home fleet scrambled. Every ship in the system converged on the invasion force. Earth's orbital defenses came online, weapons that had never been fired in anger now tracking thousands of targets. But the numbers were terrible. Humanity had perhaps 300 combat vessels in the system. They faced an enemy fleet 20 times their size. The battle began. Human ships fought with everything they had learned, using tactics that had won battles across the galaxy. But the Vex were different. Their ships regenerated damage faster than humans could inflict it. Their weapons were biological, firing projectiles that adapted to defenses in real time. Their coordination was perfect, an entire fleet moving as one organism. Doyun led his squadron in desperate attacks, trying to break the enemy formations. They destroyed Vex ships, but for everyone they killed, 3 more pressed forward. His squadron lost vessels. Good people died in fire and vacuum. Still they fought, because behind them was Earth. Behind them was home. The Vex pushed through human defenses like they were not there. They reached the outer orbital stations and began destroying them. Civilian evacuation shuttles fled toward the moon bases, praying the fleet could buy them time. Children watched from windows as the sky filled with fire. Then the Vex began dropping landing craft, millions of them, falling toward Earth's surface like rain. Inside each craft were bioengineered warriors, creatures bred specifically for ground combat. They were going to invade. They were going to take the homeworld by force. Deep beneath Geneva, in a facility that existed in no official records, alarms sounded for the first time in human history. Men and women in military uniforms rushed to their stations. Screens flickered to life, showing the battle above. Someone typed a command into a secure terminal. 3 words appeared on displays throughout the complex. Ragnarok Protocol authorized. Captain Taiho was on a transport halfway to another operation when the message reached him. The encryption was maximum level, the kind used only for apocalyptic scenarios. He read it 3 times, unable to believe what it said. Report to Earth immediately for Tier 0 briefing. Tier 0. The level above Phantom Unit. The operators humanity hoped they would never need to deploy. Taiho had heard rumors, whispers in classified briefings, hints that there was something beyond special forces. Now he would see the truth. He arrived at the Geneva facility 6 hours later. Security was absolute. He passed through scanners that could detect synthetic materials at the molecular level, through biometric checks that confirmed his identity in a dozen ways. Finally, he was cleared into the briefing room. 4 people waited inside. They wore no insignia, no rank markers, nothing that identified them. They looked like normal humans, perhaps slightly more fit than average, but nothing extraordinary. Then Taiho looked at their eyes and understood. These people had seen things that changed them. They had gone places regular humans could not survive. The one who seemed to be the leader stepped forward. Captain Taiho, Phantom Unit, welcome. You can call me Hanul. This is Nari, Kyung-soo, and Minji. We are Reaper Squad. Tier 0, Taiho said quietly. Yes, we are what happens when humanity decides that natural human capability is not enough. We volunteered for experimental augmentation, neural processing enhancement, accelerated healing, improved reflexes and strength, emotional regulation that allows us to function in conditions that would break anyone else. Hanul's voice was matter-of-fact, like he was describing equipment rather than what had been done to his body. We are not better than you, Captain. We are just different, specialized. We gave up normal lives to become weapons. Why am I here? Taiho asked. Minji answered. She was smaller than the others, but there was something about the way she moved that suggested coiled violence. Because Phantom Unit is the best humanity has for precision operations. You think like operators. The Vex invasion requires every asset Earth has. You will coordinate with us, provide tactical analysis, help manage the operation. A holographic display activated, showing Earth from orbit. Vex ships swarmed around it. Landing craft were hitting the surface, disgorging warriors by the millions. Human military was fighting desperately, but they were being overwhelmed. The Vex use hive mind coordination, Kyung-soo explained. His voice was quiet, analytical. Everything is controlled by a central organism, a biological computer that processes information from millions of units simultaneously. That organism is currently in London, or what used to be London. It is protected by adaptive bio-armor, guarded by thousands of warriors, and surrounded by environmental weapons that would kill regular humans on approach. You want to kill the command organism? Taiho said, understanding immediately. Correct, Hanul confirmed. If we eliminate it, the entire invasion force will lose coordination. They will become individual animals rather than a unified army. Human forces can handle animals, but we cannot fight a perfectly coordinated hive of millions. What is the approach? Taiho asked, his training taking over despite the impossible nature of the mission. Nari smiled. It was not a kind expression. Direct insertion. We drop from low orbit into the contaminated zone. The biological weapons the Vex are using will not affect us the same way they affect regular humans. Our augmentations include enhanced immune systems and toxin resistance. We fight our way to the command organism and destroy it. The Vex will adapt to any attack pattern, Minji added. They will learn from every engagement, so we will not give them time to learn. We will move so fast, hit so hard that they cannot process what is happening before it is over. Taiho looked at the four Reapers. They were calm, professional, ready. They showed no fear, no doubt. Whatever the augmentation process had done to them, it had removed normal human hesitation in the face of impossible odds. Or perhaps it had not removed it, but given them the tools to function despite it. What do you need from me? He asked. Tactical oversight, Hanul said. We are weapons, Captain. Very effective weapons. But weapons work best when guided by strategic thinking. You will monitor our operation from command center, provide real-time analysis, coordinate with human military assets. If we fail, you will be responsible for developing backup plans. And if you succeed, Hanul looked at him directly. If we succeed, the galaxy will learn that humanity has one more level, one more capability we kept in reserve. Phantom units showed them our precision. Reapers will show them our fury. We are Tier 0. We are what happens when humanity stops fighting defensively and decides to end threats permanently. The briefing continued for another hour. They reviewed approach vectors, enemy capabilities, extraction plans. Above them, the battle raged. Human fleet was buying time with blood. Every minute they held was another minute for Reapers to prepare. Finally, Hanul stood. Time to deploy. Captain, take your position in command center. Watch what happens next. Learn from it. Someday, Phantom Unit might need to work with Tier 0 again. It is better you understand what we are. The four Reapers left the briefing room. Taiho watched them go. These volunteers who had given up normal life to become humanity's ultimate weapons. He wondered what it cost them, what they had sacrificed. Then he pushed those thoughts aside and headed for the command center. He had a job to do. Above him, Earth burned. The Vex thought they were winning. They thought they were conquering humanity's homeworld. They had no idea what was about to be unleashed upon them. They had fought human soldiers and learned to respect them. They had heard stories of human special forces and thought they understood the threat. But Tier 0 was something else entirely. Reapers were not soldiers or operators. They were what humanity created when every other option had failed. They were the answer to the question, what happens when humans stop holding back? The Vex Collective was about to learn. In their hive mind, in their perfect coordination, in their absolute confidence that numbers and adaptation would guarantee victory, they had never encountered anything like what was coming for them. Hanul and his team boarded their drop craft. The mission was simple in concept, impossible in execution. Drop into the most hostile environment on Earth, fight through thousands of enemy warriors, destroy a command organism protected by every defense the Vex could create, and survive long enough to see if it worked. The drop craft launched. Earth's surface rushed up to meet them. In the command center, Taiho watched their vital signs, their position, their trajectory. He had done impossible things with Phantom Unit. He wondered if what Reapers were attempting was beyond even impossible. He was about to find out. The drop craft hit Earth's atmosphere like a meteor. Inside, the four Reapers felt the heat, the shaking, the violence of re-entry. Their augmented bodies handled the stress that would have knocked regular humans unconscious. Hanol checked his team's status. All green. All ready. They crashed through the toxic clouds that the Vex had spread across London. The air was filled with biological weapons, spores designed to attack human respiratory and nervous systems. Reapers breathed it in and felt nothing. Their enhanced immune systems neutralized the toxins before they could take effect. The craft hit ground in the ruins of what had been a city center. They emerged into hell. The landscape was covered in organic matter, living tissue that the Vex had grown to replace human structures. Warrior organisms moved through the growth like sharks through water, thousands of them, all connected to the hive mind, all aware the moment Reapers touched ground. "Contact," Nari said simply. She moved forward, her weapons already firing. The Vex warriors charged, confident in their numbers and their coordination. They had never lost a ground engagement. They adapted to every enemy they faced. They had never faced Reapers. Nari moved through them like a force of nature. Her augmented reflexes allowed her to process combat information faster than any organic brain should function. She saw attacks before they developed, positioned herself where enemies could not reach her, struck with precision that made every shot count. Vex warriors tried to surround her and found she was never where they expected. Kyungsu worked differently. His enhanced pattern recognition allowed him to see the hive mind's coordination in real time. He predicted where forces would move, where the command organism would send reinforcements. He called targets to the team, directing their assault like a conductor leading an orchestra of violence. Minji specialized in eliminating obstacles. When Vex biostructures blocked their path, she deployed weapons that exploited weaknesses in organic matter. When enemy warriors formed defensive positions, she found the angles that broke their formations. Her spatial awareness was so enhanced that she operated in 3 dimensions simultaneously, using terrain that others could not even see as tactical advantages. Hanil coordinated everything. His neural processing had been enhanced beyond normal human limits. He tracked his team, the enemy, the mission objectives, and a dozen backup plans all at the same time. When situations changed, he adapted instantly. When plans failed, he had new ones ready before anyone else recognized the problem. In the command center beneath Geneva, Taiho watched in awe. He had thought Phantom Unit operated at the peak of human capability. Watching Reapers, he understood there were levels beyond what he had imagined. These were not just soldiers or operators. These were weapons in human form, sacrificing normal limits to achieve things that should not be possible. The Vex command organism sensed the threat. It began throwing everything at the 4 humans, thousands of warriors, biological weapons, environmental hazards. The hive mind had conquered 70 worlds. It knew how to destroy enemies. It adapted to Reaper tactics, learning from every engagement. But Reapers moved too fast. Before the hive mind could process one tactic, they were already using another. They pushed deeper into the contaminated zone, leaving destroyed Vex warriors in their wake. The path to the command organism was 3 kilometers. They covered it in 17 minutes, moving through opposition that should have stopped an army. Commander Doyen watched from his flagship as the battle continued in orbit. His fleet was down to 200 ships. They had lost good people, bought time with blood and courage. He saw the signal from the ground team. Reapers were approaching the target. "All ships," he transmitted. "Give them everything we have. Buy them 5 more minutes." Human vessels threw themselves at the Vex fleet with renewed desperation. They were not trying to win anymore. They were just trying to last long enough for the ground team to complete their mission. Ships that were damaged beyond repair made final attacks, ramming enemy vessels, sacrificing themselves to destroy one more target. On the ground, Reapers reached the command organism. It was massive, a biological structure the size of a building. It pulsed with light as it processed information from millions of units across the planet. Around it, the Vex had created every defense they could imagine. Bio-armor that could withstand orbital strikes. Warrior organisms specifically designed to kill humans. Environmental weapons that made the air itself toxic. Minji, path, Hanul ordered. Minji deployed her last charges, creating a corridor through the defenses. The explosion was massive, tearing through organic matter that regenerated almost instantly. But almost was not fast enough. Reapers went through the gap before it could close. They were inside the defense perimeter now. The command organism recognized the threat. It created new warriors on the spot, growing them from its own mass. It released toxins that would have killed any unprotected human in seconds. It tried to communicate, to negotiate, offering anything to preserve itself. Nari and Kyung-soo eliminated the defenders while Hanul approached the organism. It was trying to adapt, trying to create defenses against whatever he would use. But adaptation required time. Time to analyze, time to respond. Hanul did not give it time. His weapons were designed specifically for this moment. Biological agents that attacked the command organism's neural structure. Electromagnetic pulses tuned to disrupt its coordination signals. Plasma charges that burned hotter than any natural fire. He used everything at once, overwhelming the organism's ability to respond. The command organism died. It took 30 seconds. In that half-minute, it tried dozens of defensive measures, attempted to transfer consciousness to backup systems, even tried to detonate itself to take the Reapers with it. None of it worked. When it was over, the massive structure collapsed, its light fading, its signals ending. Across the planet, across the fleet in orbit, across millions of Vex warriors, the effect was immediate. The hive-mind coordination simply stopped. Warriors that had moved with perfect unity suddenly became confused animals. Ships that had operated as one fleet became individual vessels with no direction. In orbit, Doyen saw it happen on his sensors. All ships, target enemy vessels. They have lost coordination. Press the attack. The human fleet, battered and reduced, fell upon the Vex with savage efficiency. Without hive coordination, the organic ships were just targets. Within an hour, the invasion fleet was destroyed or fleeing. The warriors on the ground were being systematically neutralized by human military forces. The battle for Earth was over. Humanity had won. Taiho watched as Reapers extracted from the contaminated zone. They looked tired but not exhausted. They had done the impossible, and they had made it look routine. When they arrived back at the Geneva facility, he met them personally. "Thank you," he said simply. There were not adequate words for what they had accomplished. Hanul nodded. "It is what we are for. We are Tier 0. We exist for situations exactly like this. Situations where regular forces cannot succeed, where special forces are not enough, where only maximum capability will do." "What did it cost you?" Taiho asked. "The augmentation." "What did you give up?" Minji answered. "Normal life, regular relationships, the ability to function in civilian society without feeling like we are operating at half speed. We see things others do not see. We process faster than others can follow. It makes us effective. It makes us lonely." "But when we saw the Vex coming for Earth," Nari added, "for our home, for our families, for everything humanity has built, we knew exactly why we made that choice. We are weapons. But we are weapons that protect. That is enough." The Galactic Council convened once more. The chamber was silent as representatives processed what had happened. The Vex Collective had been the galaxy's nightmare for centuries. They had conquered, adapted, and destroyed everything they faced. Humanity had stopped them in a single day. Ambassador Yuna stood before the council. She looked tired. Everyone on Earth looked tired. but they had survived. Veltreth spoke first. His voice carried something new: respect. "We owe you an apology, Ambassador. We thought humanity was dangerous. We realize now you are protectors. Your soldiers defend worlds. Your special forces rescue innocents. Your Tier 0 eliminates existential threats." "The galaxy feared us," Yuna said quietly. "Perhaps that fear was justified. But understand what you saw today. Humanity has capabilities we kept in reserve, not for conquest, not for intimidation, for protection, for those moments when everything we have built is threatened. The Vex chose to attack Earth directly. They forced us to deploy Tier 0 operators. We did not want to. We hoped we would never need to." "Will you share this technology?" asked the crystalline representative. "The augmentation that creates your Reapers?" Yuna shook her head. "No, that knowledge remains with Earth. But we will share our tactical doctrines, our training methods, our understanding of special operations. We will help any species that wishes to develop their own elite forces. But Tier 0, that is ours. That is the line we drew for ourselves. The capability we created because we remembered what it was like to be threatened, to be vulnerable, to fear extinction. A treaty was proposed, a true alliance, not just cooperation, but genuine partnership. Humanity would share its knowledge of defense, of tactics, of how to fight when fighting seems impossible. In return, the galaxy would recognize Earth's sovereignty, respect human space, and understand that while humanity sought peace, they were prepared for war. The treaty passed unanimously. For the first time since humans entered galactic society, the other species seemed relieved rather than frightened. They had seen what humanity could do. More importantly, they had seen why humanity did it. Not for conquest or glory, but for protection, for home, for the people who could not protect themselves. Captain Taiho met with Hanul one final time before Reaper Squad returned to their classified facility. They stood on a balcony overlooking Geneva, watching the city begin to repair damage from the invasion. "Do you think they understand now?" Taiho asked. Hanul considered the question. "They understand that humanity is powerful. Whether they understand why is different. We did not become dangerous because we are cruel or aggressive. We became dangerous because we remember being victims. We remember threats we could not stop. So we trained. We developed technology. We created capabilities that terrify others. But always, always for defense, for protection." "And if something worse comes?" Taiho asked. "Something beyond even the Vex?" Hanil smiled. It was cold but not cruel. "Then they will learn what every hostile force eventually learns. Humanity does not start fights. We do not seek conflict. We do not want war. But if you threaten our home, if you attack our people, if you force us to respond, we will show you exactly what we are capable of. We have soldiers who fight. We have special forces who rescue. We have Tier 0 who end threats. Choose which one you meet based on your actions." Across the galaxy, a message was transmitted. It contained footage from the Vex invasion, from the desperate fleet battle, from Reapers destroying the command organism. It ended with simple words in every known language. "Humanity seeks peace. We value life. We desire cooperation and friendship with all species. But understand this clearly. Earth is our home. Our people are our family. Our worlds are our responsibility. We will defend them with everything we have. We will use soldiers, specialists, or our ultimate capabilities as the situation requires. We do not want to be your enemy. But if you make that choice for us, you will learn why the galaxy fears humanity. You will learn that fear is justified. Choose peace. Choose cooperation. Choose friendship. Because the alternative is to face humans who will not stop, will not surrender, and will not rest until the threat is eliminated. The galaxy already feared humanity. Now you understand why." The message was received across thousands of worlds. Most species had already learned the lesson. A few had not. Those few read the message and looked at the footage and made a decision. They chose peace. Earth recovered. The scars from the invasion healed. Human fleet was rebuilt, stronger than before. Phantom Unit returned to their missions, operating in shadows, rescuing hostages, conducting surgical strikes. Reaper Squad disappeared back into the classified programs where they waited for the next existential threat. And the galaxy learned to live alongside humanity. Not in fear, though the fear remained. Not in hostility, because hostility led to confrontation. But in respect. In understanding. In the knowledge that humanity was not conquerors or monsters. They were protectors who could become incredibly, terrifyingly dangerous when pushed. And that was exactly what the galaxy needed to know.